Hello. Hey, we've got one person here so far. We've got quite a few people here. Hey, we're going to get started in about 4 minutes, everyone. So just sit tight while we wait for other people to show up. And in the next 4 minutes, we could utilize this time to familiarize ourselves with the layout of this webinar. You'll see on the right-hand side of your screen there, you have a chat function. So I'm going to be the first person to use that. So I'm going to write introduce yourself in here. So if you could just tell me that you can see that message that I've just put up, we'll just make sure that all systems are go and everything's working. So just introduce yourself if you don't mind, and tell us a little bit about yourself as well. So a couple of things. Firstly, what do you do? And what kind of interactions do you have with animals? Are you a zookeeper? Do you have pet dogs and cats or other birds or pets? Do you work as a dog consultant? Are you a vet? Are you a vet technician? Do you work in some other animal role? Give me a little bit of information about who you are. And what that does is starts a nice little atmosphere in this webinar, and additionally, it gives me information as to what pace I should go at throughout the webinar as well. And also just use the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen there. Tell me a little bit about where you're from as well. We get a really large international community in these webinars, so it's always interesting to see where everyone is from. So I'm just going to type there, can you guys hear me? I just need to know that everything's working okay. Can you hear me? And can you see me? And for those of you who just joined, we're going to get started in roughly 2 minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to show up. So it's 10:58 in the morning here in New Zealand on Thursday, the 28th of July 2016. And it's about 12 months since I started Animal Training Academy. So really excited to have all of you guys here with me today and come into this webinar and supporting Animal Training Academy. Something I started sitting on my lounge room floor about 12 months ago. So absolutely fantastic to have you all here. So can I just get anyone so we've got Courtney here. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Alan. Hi, Nalene. Hi, Lindsay, Sheila, Julie Lennon, Kelly, Tom, Barbara, and Glenda. Hey, Glenda, I got your message this morning, Glenda. So glad that we got that sorted and that you can make it here today. And I hope your little African grey is going well. And cool, starting to get some messages coming through now. Fantastic. So hi, my name is Lindsay and I'm a raptor trainer and I work at a nature center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fantastic. Hey, welcome, Lindsay. It's so great to have you here all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin today. Fantastic. Hi, my name is Tom from Amersfoort, the Netherlands. Hey, Tom, fantastic. Netherlands. Cool. We're getting quite a few people from the Netherlands, Tom. We had a guy called Leon yesterday and Awa, who are from the Netherlands as well and work with raptors over there. Alan, hi, Alan, from Brooklyn, New York. You work with invertebrates and fish. Hey, Alan, did you see the little podcast episode we did recently about training white sturgeons? I love fish training, so I'm really interested to hear what you've been up to and what your experiences have been. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds, so just quickly, hey, Courtney. Hey, Tom from the Netherlands, and Kelly, Train Monkeys. Oh, fantastic to cooperate with research procedures. Cooperation is what we're all about. So let's officially get started. That's about it. I have not yet. Cool. Yet. I like the fact that you put that wordy yet on the end there. That's fantastic. Hey, welcome everyone to this webinar or animal training jam session, live learning event, lesson, hangout, whatever you want to call it. My name is Ryan Cartledge. I'm the founder of Animal Training Academy, and I'm going to be hosting this webinar for you guys today. I'm very happy to have all of you here, and this next hour and a half is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be going through a lot of cool information. So I hope you're excited. So what we're going to do is going to go through some materials. We're going to do a bit of learning, and I'm going to share with you some of the stuff I've been up to, and then we're going to have a question and answer session at the end as well. So you guys get your questions ready, and we're going to be looking at a number of screens today. So you're going to be seeing this one. This is a live stream from my webcam, and just note, because of technology, there is about a 30-second delay in us communicating with each other. So if you write any questions, just know I might not get them for 30 seconds, and if I'm saying anything, you might not get it for 30 seconds on your end. That's just the way things work. So we're going to be looking at this webcam. We're going to be streaming straight from YouTube. So I'm going to be sharing a number of videos with you today. And the other screen we're going to be sharing today is a PowerPoint presentation that I've prepared earlier, and that's this one here. So if you could just use that chat function once again, just to communicate to me that everything's working well so far and that you can see the slideshow that I've just put up there. And the slideshow just says Animal Training Academy, the recipe for the successful management of the animals in your care. So what is this recipe? This is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, the name of the webinar and the title of this slide is Train Animals Like a Pro. That was suggested to me from my marketing team to call it that, but I just want to point out at this point in the webinar that I don't identify myself as a pro. I don't really like that word. Just like you, I identify myself as a learner, and there's Phoebe, my dog, who's actually in the room with me right now, and Tilo, my cat, and they teach me new things every day. So I'm consistently learning. I have been throughout my entire career, and I plan to until the day I die. So Train Animals Like a Pro, take it as you will. I would rather it say train animals like a lifetime learner, like myself. But the important thing is that the methods and the information we're going to be talking about uses only the most positive and less intrusive training methods known. So we're going to learn the recipe to get the behaviors you want that you can implement immediately, and no previous experience is required. Why trainers that know this basic information are going to have more success and freedom with their animals. And you can see that the word recipe is in capitals there. That is because recipe is an acronym for all the different ingredients involved in successful behavior management, standing for reinforcement, environment, communication, information, partnerships, and empowerment. So going over the recipe is going to be the main focus of the webinar today. And we're also going to talk about a 3-step process that you guys can adopt today to start developing your training skills fast. So I want to make sure that you get a lot of value out of the next hour. That is my goal. So I have come up with a little bit of a statement that I'm going to share with you. And this is what I promised for you guys. So we'll go to the next slide. I, Ryan Cartledge, promise to share with you the exact knowledge that allows me to take steps towards success with every animal I work with. I promise by the end of this webinar to allow you to be able to employ the exact same recipe yourself, effective immediately. I promise to demonstrate to you how these strategies will allow you to influence your animal's behavior and take large strides towards those more desirable behaviors. I promise that if you employ the strategies as I suggest, you can achieve success similar to myself. And I promise you more fun with your animal training endeavors, a better understanding of behavior, and improved behavior management skills. And I also acknowledge that this is a bold promise, but I'm going to keep that promise to you today. We're nearly ready to get started, but before we do, we're just going to jump back to my webcam. Before we do, what I want to do here is just let you guys know, oh no, we're not ready to jump back to my webcam. Let me just jump back to the slides really quickly because I want to tell you something really cool. I have a special free gift for everyone, and this is going to be given to everyone that stays with me to the end of this webinar. I'm going to be giving everyone access to the behavior flowchart, which is a PDF file, which I've come up with recently. And this is actually a component of the Recipe Online course at the moment, but I'm going to give it to you for free today, just for staying with me to the end of this webinar. And what what it is a list of about 20 questions that you can use when you get stuck with your training projects. And it will really help supercharge you in coming up with solutions, especially when used in conjunction with all the great content on animaltrainingacademy.com. So all the questions, I've actually listed them out as separate to the PDF that you can download. And under each question, I put a link to the relevant content on the website that pertains to that question. So you can go through those questions when you get to a behavioral challenge, and you can additionally click on the links and be taken to the exact information that pertains to that question. So quite a powerful tool. Come up with it in the last month, and it is a work in progress, so it's only going to improve. Now, we're nearly ready to get officially started, but before we really bite down into the nitty gritty of the content, I just want to put a really friendly reminder out there that you're all about to learn something pretty important. So if we can please try and minimize distractions, that would be great. If you have Skype or Facebook or any other messaging services and social media platforms open, they are continuously updating themselves and refreshing themselves with information, and they use up a lot of your bandwidth, and that bandwidth affects this webinar. So if you could just pause them or shut them down for now, turn off your face and place it on vibrate, and do whatever else you can to try and minimize those distractions so we can set ourselves up for success. Also make sure that you have one of these, a pen and some paper. If you don't have some, quickly grab some. Depending on what way this webinar goes, I'm going to leave it up to you guys today, but we'll probably be utilizing a pen and paper at some point, and obviously you can take notes as well. Now, everyone's internet connections are different, and everyone's computer software is different. So sometimes we have people who are getting perfect streams, and sometimes it's a little bit jumpy for other people. If you are finding it's jumpy, there should be a little link down the bottom that you can refresh the screen if it ever gets jumpy. And if it's too jumpy, delete your history of your internet browser and your cookies and your cache, and that quite often solves the problem. So just to let you know that little bit of information before we get going. But that's pretty much it for the boring housekeeping side of things. Let's talk about behavior. So I'm going to be giving this webinar today as a whole suite of free resources that Animal Training Academy provides. So if you just kind of heard about Animal Training Academy and you've just started interacting with the material, then there's a whole suite of free resources for you to engage with. There's a free course, a 15-lesson free course on the website. There's free podcasts. We're up to 11 lessons now with some amazing people being interviewed on those podcasts. Free written reports, free webinars, free audio, free quizzes. There's a whole bunch of free resources for you that will take you a week or two, maybe more, to consume. So head over there if you haven't already, and depending on how fast you get through it might take you a month. So loads of free stuff for you, including these webinars, obviously. And my motivation behind all this is something that someone once told me, and this person told me this when I first started animal training, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my journey when I first started soon. And one thing that they've told me, well, lots of things, but this one thing really has stuck with me ever since. And to be honest, I didn't quite understand it at the time, but now it's pretty crystal clear. I'm just going to jump back to the slideshow because I want to share this individual's website because she has a wealth of knowledge, and I definitely recommend checking out her stuff if you get an opportunity. This person is by far one of the greatest animal minds I know and has been a mentor of gigantic proportions in my life. Her name is Susan Friedman. And like I said, I definitely recommend checking out her stuff if you get an opportunity. Now, when I met Susan, she told me something. She told me that it was her mission to change the world one animal at a time by spreading the word about the most positive and less intrusive methods of animal training known. So I like to think that with Animal Training Academy and the resources that I'm creating, I'm doing my part in that mission. And I created this academy to form a community because we all want what's best for our animals, and we all want to help guide them towards learning new behaviors that benefit them and benefit us. So that's why we're here today. Now, like I said, I don't know your journey with regards to Animal Training Academy, so I don't know how long you've been with me. But if you have just met me and you have just come into contact with my material, you might be sitting there going, well, who are you, Ryan? Why should I listen to you? So to help explain that a little bit more and to give you some information about my background, I'm just going to play a short video for you guys. So we're going to jump to YouTube for the first time. So bear with me, and I'm working on my timing here. So let's see how we go. I'm going to open that video, and here we go. This is a test for me. That video should be playing for you now. So that's a little bit of information about my background. I've been so lucky. I could tell you some stories about the complete randomness of how I ended up meeting the people I met and getting the positions and securing the jobs I've managed to secure. It's just been a really fun odyssey, I call it, my behavior odyssey. But we'll jump back to the PowerPoint presentation here, and we're going to have a look at a little bit of a photograph, a fun photograph. I got my first ever animal training position in Australia at a place called Cairns Tropical Zoo. And you can see me there. Maybe you can't. So I'll put a little bit of an arrow in there. There I am. And that's me with one of the Australian lesser sooty owls, a beautiful species of bird. And we were working, I was working in the free flight bird show at Cairns Tropical Zoo. So we had everything there. We had owls, as you can see there. We had cockatoos, we had magpies, crane, geese, owls, and eagles. You might have seen some of my content with this animal, one of the greatest teachers I've ever had, Bob, the wedge-tailed eagle. And this is where I first started training animals, and I learned that positive reinforcement animal training is what I wanted to do, and I dedicated my life to it ever since. And if you haven't watched any of my videos, like I said, you might have heard me talking about Bob the wedge-tailed eagle before. He was, like I said, definitely one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. For now, though, I'm not going to talk about Bob today. We're going to be talking about this animal here. And this, if you don't know the species, it's an Australian species of goose called a magpie goose. And this individual bird had earned, I guess you could say, the name Security. And he was named this for a specific reason. Security was, unfortunately for him, labeled as an aggressive animal. He had been up to some rather undesirable behaviors around the zoo. Being a free roaming animal, he would sometimes chase visitors. He would fly towards them, fly towards their heads, stab at their shoes, and a whole host of other undesirable behaviors along those lines. Unfortunately for everyone involved, he actually ended up knocking over a baby buggy one day. Luckily, the baby inside that buggy was unharmed, and the baby's parents were very understanding. But obviously, a repeat of that situation was not desirable. So, short of options at the time, Security ended up living in a big exhibit in the bird show area with another bird. Now, in this new environment, Security carried on those undesirable behaviors I just told you about, flying at my head, flying at other keepers' heads, stabbing at our boots, etc. And generally speaking, this animal made life pretty challenging for the people managing him. The other challenge was that the bird that Security was sharing his space with was in the process of learning new behaviors so that it could eventually participate in the zoo's live educational show. So it made that progress very challenging as well. And for me at this stage, I was brand new at the zoo, and I was right at the beginning of my journey with regards to behavior management and animal training. Everyone there at the time was brainstorming. They were brainstorming really hard to come up with a solution to the challenges that Security was presenting us with. As mentioned before, some people had labeled Security as an aggressive animal, and I'm going to talk about why this is important soon. But because of all of these factors, I remember at one point hearing the word euthanasia. And that didn't quite sit right with me and some of the others. So we continued working really hard and brainstorming alternative solutions. One thing I personally did was endeavor to go out and seek opportunities myself and learn about animal training and behavior management. And I started to, as I mentioned before, meet some amazing people, and my learning odyssey had begun. One thing at that time that I started learning about and has stuck with me so strong to this day was how the use of labels placed upon animals can actually inhibit our ability to successfully intervene with their undesirable behaviors. So with Security in my own head, the first thing I did was I removed the label aggressive from that animal. And instead, I started examining to the best of my ability what was possibly reinforcing his behaviors. And I asked myself a brand new question that definitely hadn't previously been the focus of our brainstorming endeavors. And that question was, yes, we wanted Security to stop flying at our heads. And yes, we wanted him to stop stabbing at our boots. But what did we want Security to do instead? Now, that question is so important, I'm going to repeat it. Yes, we wanted him to stop undesirable behaviors, but what did we want him doing instead? Now, immediately after asking that question, something happened. Suddenly, more desirable behaviors started to come into our minds as answers. The other thing I started learning about was environmental arrangement, achieving feng shui, as I like to call it. So we examined the exhibit security was living in, and we brainstormed how we could possibly work to modify that space to set things up for security to be more successful. And we ended up doing quite a couple of things. So we'll jump back to the slideshow there. And these are the behavioral solutions that we came up with. So firstly, we identified some possible reinforcers for security. And to do this, we were going to use food. We thought about using food and it worked very well. We watched security eat. And he had a mixture of items in his food bowl. We saw what his favorite food item was. He would pick the corn out, and he loved corn. So we used the corn as positive reinforcement to teach security new and more desirable behaviors. In fact, this animal liked corn so much that he learned within the space of about a week to station himself, to go place his entire body on a painted square piece of wood that we installed in his holding space, and he would go and stand there when we entered into his exhibit. Now, doing that behavior earned him corn, and it was incompatible with flying at our heads and stabbing at our boots, and we were on our way. Next, what we did is we modified his exhibit, and once again, using positive reinforcement, security learned some new behaviors. He learned to voluntarily place himself within an area of the exhibit where we could keep him separated whilst we trained Reuben the crane. Now, the great thing about all of this is it worked. It worked. And it was quite simple. I mean, all the things I've just described sound quite simple, right? And I remember being really excited at the time. I mean, it was one of my first attempts at being involved in holistic behavior management. And the great thing was that in hindsight, as mentioned, it was simple. Once the correct information had been acquired, what was needed was to ask the right questions, to remove labels, not only to focus on what security needed to stop, but also to focus on what new behaviors security needed to learn. And the other thing that had the really big impact were the small changes that we made to security's environment. Now, looking into security's environment, we could call them small, but to security, considering euthanasia had been mentioned, they were probably pretty significant changes. And I raise that point specifically because working with security definitely has not been the only time in my career where the term euthanasia has been mentioned because of using labels such as aggressive and therefore limiting our ability to effectively employ behavioral change interventions. At the time, as I mentioned, I was a completely novice animal trainer with minimal experience, but I sought out the right information, and that information helped lead me to answers, and those answers got results. And this is one reason why I'm really excited to have all of you here in this webinar with me today, because we're going to be going over a lot of this really cool information. Now, we're talking about animal training, and everyone knows about shaping behaviors, giving an animal a food item and slowly moving it towards the end behavior that you want. But that's just one aspect. It's one aspect of behavior management. To be a good trainer, I believe you really have to develop a fundamental understanding of how behavior works in the first place. So we're going to be talking about this today. Now, since those early days at Ken's Tropical Zoo, as mentioned before, I've been very fortunate. I've traveled around the world, worked in America, Canada, Australia, and here in New Zealand. And this is an article I wrote for an Australian bird keeping magazine while I was working over there and doing live animal shows in Ontario in Canada. I now, in this region, serve on the Australasian Society of Zookeeping, the ASZK. And you can see if you actually go to the Australian Society of Zookeeping page, there's one of my videos there as well. Now, I started Animal Training Academy 12 months ago. So we are currently, well, I am anyway, very excited about celebrating its first birthday, and it's growing exponentially. It took off, and I'm amazed to think of some of the things I've been up to in the last 12 months. And I've met a large amount, including you guys, of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And that's one of the most reinforcing things for me as the founder of Animal Training Academy. So what I wanted to do now, what I thought would be cool, is to share with you guys some of the comments from some of Animal Training Academy's members. So I want to share these with you, and I'm going to introduce two very good friends of mine that I met in the last 12 months because of starting Animal Training Academy. And these people are Bridget Kriegenhofer from Natureland Zoo here in New Zealand, and Julian Novua with his parrot his Alexandrian parrot Ruster, and Julian and Ruster live in Melbourne. So I'll open that up for you. And I did well with my timing last time, so here we go again. That video will be playing for you now. Hey, thanks for that, Bridget and Julian. Like I said, some very good friends of mine now that I met after they joined Animal Training Academy. So what we're going to be talking about now is how I figured out how to interact with my animals via all the information that I've gathered over the years in ways that help develop relationships based on trust and respect, and helped improve my life and the life of all the animals I work with. This knowledge gives me a very strong level of confidence that I can move towards the behaviors I want. You give me a situation, an animal or behavior, and I feel like in all situations I can positively impact upon them. And I strongly feel that this confidence comes from a number of things. And one is a fundamental, deep understanding about behavior. It's kind of like I see it as wearing a pair of behavioral glasses, because the thing is, with your animals in your workplaces and your vet practices, or at home with you or with your clients, every single one of those animals is unique. Every single one. They're unique within themselves, and they're unique within their environmental context. So you have to look at them as unique, but it's a lot easier when you're wearing a thick pair of behavioral glasses. And I feel like I've been slowly wearing a thicker and thicker pair over the years. And hopefully we're going to add some layers to your behavioral glasses today as well. So to help us out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the slideshow there. I've created a recipe for successful behavior management. In fact, the recipe was the name of the first ever course I created 12 months ago. And as of about 3 days ago, I've just recreated the course, I've repackaged it and put it on the brand new website. So very excited about that this week. We're going to be talking more about that later. But I've got a little video from that original course created over 12 months ago to play for you now, explaining what the recipe is and all the different ingredients involved in successful behavior management. So we'll jump back to the webcam, and then been doing really well with my timing today. We'll go to the recipe, and I'm going to catch up on your chat while this video is playing, which will be playing for you right now. And credit, before I actually play that, credits Henk Liu from Wellington Zoo for the beautiful photo of the lion on this video. And there you have it. So they're all the different ingredients of the recipe. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through as many ingredients as we can in relation to how much time we have. So we have about half an hour before we want to get into the question and answer section of the webinar. So we'll go through 2 or 3 ingredients. So what I'm going to do is open up on the right-hand side of your screen there. I'm going to open up a poll. And in this poll, it's going to have all the different ingredients from the recipe. So what I want you to do as an individual is to choose one ingredient of the recipe that you most want to learn about. And I'm going to let you people decide how the rest of this webinar plays out. So you've got 6 different ingredients there. I want you to tell me the ingredient you most want to learn about today. And while I'm waiting for your answers to come back, I'd just like to extend a very warm and gratuitous welcome to Sharon and Bridget and Julie to the webinar who have put those comments up there. So if you have just joined us, please add your name and a little bit of information about what you do in the chat function there, so I can understand who I'm talking to. And Bridget, so great to have you here. I'm pumped to have someone from New Zealand here. So welcome, Bridget. All right, so they're coming through. So it looks like I'm going to write this down with my pen, so just bear with me as I look to the side of the screen here. Looks like we want to learn about empowerment. I'm glad that you guys chose that. It's one of my favorite ingredients. And then we've got communication after that. Cool. We're going to meet Debbie the brush-tailed possum and that ingredient. And then the next one, we've got a bit of a tie between information and partnership. So I reckon we'll go over the information ingredient. I've just made that decision for you guys because it got equal votes. And that's a really, really powerful. Hey, Phil, great to have you here, buddy. And I hope Yoda's going well as well. It's fantastic to have 2 New Zealanders in the room this afternoon. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with empowerment. So what I've got to do on my screen, guys, just to give you a little bit of information. I've got 2 computer screens open here. Hey, Kayla as well, dog trainer and crazy parrot named Francis. Hey, fantastic. I'm going to jump to because you guys told me that you want to learn about this empowerment slide. So just bring those up on my screen. And Yoda's fine now. A massive relief to hear that, Phil. And quite a stressful period back then when he was at the vet. So great to hear he's doing well. So we're going to go to the PowerPoint presentation very quickly, and we're going to do this so that we can see what ingredient we're talking about. We're talking about the final, but definitely not the least important, one of the most important ingredients of the recipe, which is empowerment. So what does empowerment mean? Empowerment's all about giving our animals self-determination, allowing them to choose their own fate in our animal training and let them make the decisions as to how the training plays out. So this is a big one for me. It's that extra layer, it's that extra icing that we put on top of the science and allows our animals the choice to participate in our training or not and make their own decisions. And I'll add something to this ingredient today. I've loaded a video up here. I wasn't sure if I was going to play it, but it's a really nice example of empowerment. So we'll go through the main content of this ingredient and then I'll play that short little video for you. You're going to really love it. It's an Eclectus parrot, and I know we've got a few people in the room here today that have Eclectus parrot, so you're going to really like that one. And I want to talk about, with regards to empowerment, I want to talk about a study that Dr. Susan Friedman told me about first. I learned about it in her online course, and it really hits home for me the importance of this. It's a study done by Seligman, so we're talking about science here, stuff that's gone through the scientific process. But this was done in the 60s. Probably wouldn't pass an ethics board today. It's a little bit unethical, but that was about 50 years ago, done by Seligman, Martin, and Mayer. And what these individuals did, and once again, warning, this is not nice, is they took dogs, and they put these dogs in a space where half the space had an electrified floor, and the experimenters could turn the electrified component of the floor on and off with a switch. And when the dog was on the side with the electric floor and they turned it on, then the dog would jump to the other side. All right, that makes sense. This was hypothesized. But what these guys did next was they put collars on the dogs and then they tied them up on the side with the electric floor. And they gave the dogs continual electric shocks. Now, as you can imagine, at first these dogs acted intensely. They were being electrocuted and they couldn't remove themselves from the situation. After a while, though, these dogs learned that their behavior trying to get away was pointless. There was no point. So they just gave up. A large amount of them just lay down and they just took the shocks. Now, what the experimenters did next was remove the collars. So back to where we started. But what they found was that these dogs had gone through that learning process of their behavior being not being ineffective, was that even once the collars had been removed, the dogs just continued to lie there and take the shocks, even though there was nothing to restrict them from removing themselves from this horrible situation. The learning that occurred in this situation has been labeled flooding. And it basically means that the dogs just gave up after learning they had no control over the situation, even when their control was restored. This phenomenon is called learned helplessness. They learned that they were helpless in that situation. Their behavior did not impact upon their environment. And it's a real dire situation for me to put our animals in. So it's the last ingredient in the recipe, but for me, it's such an important one in contemplating when managing our animal behavior. Now, two examples. I'm going to play this video for you because it's really powerful, and it's not to the extremities of this experiment, but it shows how you at home with your parrots or your dogs or in your zoological situations with your birds of prey. I know we've got a few BOP people here. It can be implemented really simply. It's giving your animals choice, and studies like this demonstrate that utmost importance of it. You might go to a fair or a circus or something, and you might see a donkey with kids climbing all over it, and people might say, well, that donkey's so well trained. That donkey can accept anything going on around it, all these kids screaming. My hypothesis, my questions in my mind that I'm asking myself are, has this animal been through learned helplessness? Is there a donkey that I'm looking at right now who's just given up trying? Because it knows there's absolutely no point in its behavior is futile. Those kids are going to run around and scream at it no matter what. So a really important ingredient, I've talked about a really extreme case, and to some degree I apologize about that, but it demonstrates the point so well. So what I'm going to do is play this video for you now of how one of Animal Training Academy's members, Julian, who you met earlier, and the great thing about Julian is he's really keen for me to share the training that he's doing with Ruster the Alexandrian parrot, but he uses empowerment to train Ruster and to get him to accept tactile work. So I'll open up that video for you, and that should be playing now. Absolutely amazing work that Julian is doing with Rasta there. And just ignore that information about the VIP program that's on the website under the VIP heading. But we're going to give you an opportunity to engage in that process a little bit later on in this webinar. What that video additionally demonstrates is, as Susan Friedman so beautifully puts in her metaphor, is allowing the animal to vote with its feet, to tell us that it wants to move towards reinforcement and or away from what it perceives to be punishment. So really powerful when we can understand that and utilize it. And that's what the empowerment ingredient's all about. The other thing that you saw in that video was some fantastic communication occurring between the human in that situation, Julian, and the animal, Rasta, the Alexandrian parrot. And you saw the amazing results. So communication is important with every single animal and human in every single situation. It's a continual feedback loop. And communication is, in fact, the next ingredient that you guys wanted to learn about, and the third ingredient in the recipe. So we have to work really hard, as you saw Julian and Rusta doing there, to become super sensitive to our animals' body language. We obviously can't talk to them, and often their body language will provide us with a lot of information that we can use to improve upon the communication feedback loop that we open with them. And this helps with our training and consequently to get the behaviors that we want. To demonstrate this, we're going to have a look at one of the free training tidbit videos that you guys can access on the website. We're going to have a look at one now with Devi the brush-tailed possum, and we're going to be meeting, additionally later, we're going to be meeting Bonnie Welcomes, Devi's current trainer. So this video is about 3.5 minutes long. We're going to be meeting Devi the brush-tailed possum, and Bonnie's in this video as well. And note, we're going to be talking about filming your animal training later, so just note that I took the film that you're going to see in this next video from my iPhone. So I've got my iPhone right here. So the film you're about to see is filmed on this device because I want you guys to start filming your animal training, and all of you have one of these things, one of these mobile phones. So this is a nice demonstration of how we used a mobile phone to facilitate our understanding about communication and the importance of knowing and reading and becoming super sensitive to our animals' body language. So I'm going to open up that and introduce you to Bonnie Wilkins and Devi the brush-tailed possum. Next video should be playing for you now. So beautiful little example of communication there. We're going to be meeting Bonnie and Devi the brushtail possum a little bit later on in this video. But remember the thing I said before we watched that video, I filmed that on my iPhone, and I'm going to be encouraging all of you here to start filming your animal training. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why later, but it can really help supercharge your learning. And I know, Phil, if you're listening right now, Phil, that me and you were working on that quite significantly last month with you and Pluck and filming our behavior and the learning opportunities that provided us with when we could really slow that down and start to look at all the different variables going on. And I just want to, before we move on to the next ingredient, just acknowledge the sublime statement made by Julie Lannon in the comments there. So talking about Rusta's video before, I like this a lot. My rescue horse moves away with her head as I approach quite a bit. Looking forward to learning more. Yes, I see she is voting with her head. And you've taken that Susan Friedman comment about voting with her feet and you've applied it to your horse. And our animals vote with every part of their bodies, so not just their feet. They're voting with their heads. They're voting with their torsos. They're voting with their arms if they're a primate in a research center. They're voting with their wings if they're a bird on the perch. So animals are consistently telling us via their body language. And by removing labels and just focusing on their body language, we can learn a lot. And the video function, as Phil just said there, my editing tool is very good. So thank you for that, Phil, because I know me and you have worked extensively with that. And Phil, I hope you saw the video I released this week called the Recipe Introduction Video 3, which explains a little bit about using iMovie and Movie Maker, the free software available on your guys' computer, to slow down your footage and really supercharge your learning. So absolutely beautiful. Now, I heard a story the other day of a factory, right? And this is slightly deviating, but I've got to point to the story. Our factory had a big boiler, and the boiler broke down. So they called in a mechanic to fix this boiler. And the mechanic came in, and he looked at the boiler, and he got a little hammer out, and he knocked the hammer on the specific part of the boiler, and it started working again. And he said, "There you go, your boiler's working." And he left. The next day, the manager of the factory got a bill from this mechanic for $3,000. And the bill said, hitting the boiler with a hammer, $1. Knowing where to hit the boiler with a hammer, $2,999. Now, filming your behavior is super important. I feel strongly in saying this, and it's very abstract and subjective, but I can guarantee you'll learn from filming your behavior and watching it back. And by absorbing the information via this webinar and on animaltrainingacademy.com, you're going to develop the skills to know where to hit that hammer on that boiler. And that's how we got success. And Phil's put that comment up there. And once again, I'm very appreciative of you doing that, Phil. Thank you. And Julian as well. We got success with Julian. I'm going to meet Bonnie Wilkins, Devi's trainer, later. That's how I can look at those videos and go, hey, here's where we need to slow down. Here's where we need to hit that video with that little tiny hammer. And that's where the power of this stuff comes in. But guaranteed you will learn from just filming your training. So I'm going to encourage that a little bit later on. But for now, we're going to move on to the next ingredient, one more ingredient, and we're going to go to question and answers. One more ingredient you guys told me that you really wanted to learn about today. So we'll jump back to the slideshow. This is the fourth ingredient of the recipe, which is information. So that's knowing. The information is knowing where to hit that boiler with the hammer. And this is a vitally important ingredient. And you guys sitting at your homes, in your workplaces, maybe you're listening to me in the car. I know some people just put me on audio and just had me in the car. One person, while they were driving to a concert late at night, much to the dismay of their girlfriend, had me playing in the background, and they afterwards got involved in the VIP mentor program. So wherever you are listening to this, you are engaging in this ingredient right now. And I thank you for that. We're going to be talking about, as we've already talked about, science here. And before we talk about science, though, let's define science. What is science? What makes something scientific? To me, it has to have gone through a process, right? And it has to have been proved to the best of its ability. That dog study we learned before, I'm sure we all agree, it has not been repeated, and we're glad for that. But generally speaking, scientific studies are repeated in numerous studies by independent parties. So people that don't have any interest in each other, they're producing the same studies and they're getting the same results. And then all these results are put in front of a big table of experts, and these experts are reading them and commenting on them and criticizing them, and then eventually agreeing, yes, this is valid information. This is the best information we have up until this point in time. It's ever changing. Last week, coffee was bad for you. This week, coffee is good for you. Glass of red wine before dinner is bad for you. 2 months from now, it's going to be good for you again. So we're self-correcting in science all the time, but we're going through this scientific process. And the other thing about science is it has to be measurable. So for this ingredient, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a little trick about measuring behavior. How can we make what we do scientific to the best of our ability? So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to jump back to the slideshow right now. Let me just bring that up on your screen. Get ready to learn your big build up here, ABCs. Now, I'm not talking about your alphabet. These are antecedent behavior consequence. ABC is an acronym for antecedent behavior consequence. Now, this will all make sense very shortly. I'm about to explain it in great detail. But this is the smallest functionable, measurable unit of behavior. So we all know what behavior is, hopefully. When we're talking about behavior, we're not talking about labels. We're not talking about your animal being stubborn. We're not talking about your animal being aggressive or excited or fearful. We're talking about what you can measure, because you can't measure those things. You can measure what you can see and hear. Ears back, pupils dilated, fur up, feathers down, wings elated, head of the horse moving away, floating with their feet. These are things we can see and hear. That is what behavior is. Behavior is happening all the time. Your animals, I can look down behind my computer here and see Phoebe, my half Chihuahua, half Silky, spread out on the floor, lying next to the heater because we're in winter here in New Zealand. And some say, well, she's not behaving right now. She is behaving. She's got her body, her right side of her body on the floor, her paws are relaxed. And once again, that's a label. The muscles aren't tense or they aren't drawn out. They're out in front of her. Her eyes are closed. Her ears are still perked up, but she's behaving. The only time she's not going to be behaving is and I hope this day doesn't come for a long time, is when Phoebe passes away. So animals are always behaving. So we're going to be talking about behavior when we learn about ABCs, and that's what we're talking about. Only what we can measure, only what we can see and hear. So that's the B part of this ABC equation. The A part, you can see there, it says antecedent. So what this refers to is what is happening in our animal's environment directly, immediately before behavior occurs. So you have a behavior for your animal, and we're going to be watching a video, and I'm going to ask you guys to pull from that video the information that you can see and hear of what's occurring in the video's example immediately before behavior occurs. And that's what antecedent is. So that's just what it means. It means what's occurring in the environment immediately before behavior occurs. And then we have the consequence, and that is, once again, in the environment, what is happening immediately after a behavior occurs. So in this example, let's take the most simple and well-rehearsed behavior out of all animals in the entire world, and that is getting a dog to sit. Right? So this behavior is dog takes his bum and lowers it to the ground with its front legs still extended and its ears perked up and looking at you. So it sits down. That's the behavior. What happens immediately before that behavior? It cannot be any behavior of the dog. It has to be external of the dog in its environment to be an antecedent. Let's say it's me saying sit. So the A for that ABC would be sit. The behavior would be the dog sitting down. The consequence, once again, it has to be removed from the dog. So it's in the dog's environment. What happens immediately after that dog sits is I deliver a favorite food item to that dog. So that ABC would be the sit command, and then removed from the environment, the behavior of the individual animal would be the sit behavior. And then once again, back to the environment, the consequence would be the delivery of favorite food item. So we're going to do a little exercise now to develop and to build upon the information I've just given you and to facilitate our learning about this, because I'm going to explain why as we move through this ingredient, but this is powerful. If you can understand this, and Phil, me and you've been through this once again extensively, if you can understand this, you will be in such an amazing position to really supercharge moving forward with your animals. Because if you consistently practice this, I'm going to tell you why it's going to really allow you to deal with challenges that you face moving forward. So what I need you to do now, because we're going to go through a little exercise, I'm going to play a video for you, but I'm going to jump over here to my piece of pen and paper, and I'm going to just write something down quickly, and then I'm going to show you what it is, because I want you to do the same. So wherever you are, grab your pen and paper. If you're driving your car, please do not, but otherwise grab your pen and paper, and I want you to write down, I've done it very quickly, so excuse the messiness of it, 3 times. I want you to write down ABC down the piece of paper, and we're going to have a go at practicing this. So we're going to watch a video, and I want you to pick out 3 ABCs from it. The first thing you want to do, so we'll just jump back to our slideshows, and I'm going to give you a little bit more instruction as to how to do this. The first thing you want to do is start by writing behavior. So you don't write your antecedent, don't write your consequence, find a behavior and write it down. And then after you've done that, so after you've identified the behavior, then write down the antecedent. So think to yourself, what was happening immediately before that behavior occurred? And then write down the consequence. What happened immediately after the behavior? So the behavior has to be from one of the animals, and then the antecedent and consequence must be in the environment of that animal. So I'm going to play that video for you now, and there's going to be some more instructions as well in the video. So if it doesn't make sense, if I haven't explained it well, then don't worry, there's going to be even more instruction in the video. And the reason I'm going into such great lengths to explain this to you is because of the power that we can use and we can leverage from understanding this. And I'm going to explain the powers soon, but we'll play that video first. So let me just jump to my video. We're going to go back to YouTube. That video should be playing for you right now. And I absolutely love that video. And just for some background information, that was me working in Dallas in the US with Natural Encounters, which is a company owned by Steve Martin, the famous animal trainer, and Lacey Zeno, who now works at San Diego Zoo, explaining to me the Natural Encounters way of working with their macaw parrots. And you saw me with a scarlet macaw there. So I just want to acknowledge that company and those people. And I've contacted them, and they're very comfortable with me using that video because it's such a great example. And we're going to go through the 3 different ABCs right now. Firstly, I just noticed something in my chat, so I want to acknowledge it super quickly. Ninki, it's great to have you here all the way from Thailand, the Dutch dog trainer, and I know you've been engaging with the Clicker training course, which you're going to talk about later. So Nikki, I just saw your comment there. Fantastic to have you here. We'll jump back to the slideshow, and you just saw the first ABC there. So hopefully you got that and you understand that. So let's look at it now. The bird steps up. So that's the bird's behavior. And then we're going to remove ourselves from the bird's behavior into the bird's environment for the A and C. So I'm offering my hand. So suddenly in that bird's environment, it has some new information. There is a hand in front of it. Now, that hand in front of that bird doesn't tell that bird, you must step up now. No, because we've learned about empowerment in this webinar. What that hand says to the bird is there is an opportunity for you right now, Mr. Macaw, to earn some positive reinforcement. Via your individual learning history, you know that if you lift that right foot up, place it on that human's hand, and then move your body weight to bring the rest of your body up, that's going to result in delicious sunflower seeds. And that is what the antecedent does. It doesn't tell our animals it has to do something. It provides information that there is an opportunity available via that animal's past learning history. So that's part of the environment. And then the bird steps up, and then the environment once again changes. And the bird predicted this because of its past learning history, that a favorite food item got offered. And that was the first ABC that you guys just learned about. I'm sorry if you heard that sound there. It's my computer giving me messages. We'll move on to the next ABC that I wanted you guys to hopefully notice. And we just talked about communication. So I put this one in here because it was so beautiful with regards to the last ingredient we talked about. We talked about communication, and communication isn't just our animals giving us communication. It's additionally about us communicating to them. But it is therefore a continuous feedback loop. It's going both ways and it never stops. It's always in play. So this time we're going to look at the birds, we're going to look at my behavior. So we're going to go to the A part of the last ABC, where I offered my hand. Now, if you were observant, then you might have seen something happen in my environment immediately before I did that. I didn't just offer my hand when I was ready. Immediately before I offered my hand, that macaw in my environment lifted up its right foot. It said to me, Ryan, I'm ready. As a consequence of that, I offered my right hand. And then the bird stepped up. And I wanted it to step up because I wanted to move it to another part of that environment. And therefore, I was reinforced for that. And we can predict that I will do that behavior again at a high frequency in the future. So a really nice little ABC there. And the third ABC I want to talk about, now I throw this in there just for a little bit of fun. We're going to look at me again. So we're going to look at my behavior. And this time, my behavior is following instructions. So I introduced you to Lacey before. So I follow instructions, and I follow instructions given to me from my environments. Now, Lacey tells me, Ryan, put your hand up, because this is a natural encounter way of doing things. So that bird knows what to focus on. Now, that antecedent, I didn't have to do that. Lacey wasn't forcing me to. Lacey just said, you're going to be reinforced by her tonality and her body language and her experience if you do what I say. So Lacey gives me that instruction, I follow it, and then not only do I get a bird stepping up, I get Lacey saying good. As part of my environment, I get some feedback from my environment telling me that I am on the right path. So there's a nice little ABC there, and we can predict that I'm going to follow instructions from Lacey again in the future. She's reinforced me. So one of the benefits of doing ABCs is it's simple. It is really simple. And I hope you guys can appreciate that now, but it allows us to predict if a behavior is going to increase or decrease in the future. So we can predict with all the ABCs we've done in this example that all of these behaviors are going to be maintained or increase in frequency in the future. And the other benefit is that it can allow us to see more clearly the function of our animal's behavior, so we can understand why they're doing what they're doing by looking at their behavior and then analyzing those pieces of immediacy before and after behavior. Gives us a lot of information about why they're doing what they're doing. Now, understanding this can help you learn and predict, and consequently assist in successfully modifying behavior by examining and changing the A and C part of the equation. These two elements, the antecedent and consequence, are frequently components of the physical environment of the animal that you're working with. And therefore, being components of the physical environment are most likely under your control. You can see in the little slide I've got up there right now that 2/3 of this equation is environmental. So a lot of people come to me and they advise me that they have a behavioral problem. I know that majority of the time, 99.9% of the time, we don't have a behavioral problem. We have an environmental problem. By doing our ABCs and analyzing the A and C parts of these equations within the context of our animal's behavior, we can start to modify those two components. When we start to change these things, when we start to change the conditions surrounding and sandwiching our behavior, we start to change behavior. And this is how knowing your ABCs, focusing on the science of behavior, removing all those labels, aggressive, stubborn, fearful, all the stuff, and just focusing on what we can see in here can really supercharge your ability to intervene in your animal's behavior. Super powerful stuff. Hey, thanks, Nikki. I just saw your second comment there. Now, guys, we've been going for about an hour, and I am very appreciative of you guys sticking with me through this content. Hopefully, it's been helpful. What we're going to do now is we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to start moving towards the question and answer section of this webinar. So I hope you guys have your questions ready, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. And we're going to be going through a little bit more information just before we get there. So before we do, I'm just going to open up the recipe slide and you can see what we've gone through. So we've just been through a really quick and brief rundown of the recipe for successful behavior management of the animals in your care. Just to revise the different ingredients, we have reinforcement, environment, communication, information, partnerships, and empowerment. And you can learn about all the rest of those ingredients in the online course. Now, the interesting thing about this is you guys, whether you know it or not, and all animal trainers out there are using all of these ingredients. There's just no way to work around it and not use these. You are. You're either using them successfully or you're not. And just like any food item that you use in an actual recipe, the quality of the ingredients that you're using will determine the quality of the end product. So, for example, we could put some milk in an ingredient when we're following a recipe for cookies. But if the milk we're using is not good, it's past its expiration date, it's started to curd and go disgusting, it's not going to make the cookies taste very good. It's not going to have the same result when they come out the oven compared to if we used fresh milk. So the best animal trainers in the world, they're all using these ingredients, as are you. But the best animal trainers in the world, they're using the best ingredients money can buy. And some people aren't getting results with their animal training, and they might look at the recipe and they might make a statement. And this happens frequently on social media when I post stuff on Facebook or I post stuff on LinkedIn and those other platforms. They clearly state in their comments that this stuff doesn't work. But regardless, they're using the ingredients themselves. They might have got the wrong information, or they don't quite understand reinforcement, or they've made some changes in the environment, but it hasn't actually made the right behavior easier for the animals. So it is about having the right ingredients as much as it is about having good ingredients. And that's where Animal Training Academy comes in. It's about understanding all of this information on a deeper level and finding the right information and spending your time learning it. And with regards to this, there's a really simple way to speed up your development when it comes to behavior management. So we're going to jump back to the slideshow there, and I encourage everyone to do this, and that is Ryan's 3-step process for success. And you might have picked up there a little bit of a laugh when I said Ryan's 3-step process. It's not my 3-step process. Once again, this is just marketing. Everyone's doing this and getting success, and I can't put my name to it, but here's how it goes. You may or may not already be training. If you aren't, I'm going to encourage you very shortly. I'm going to explain how, especially even if you're tight for time, I'm going to explain how you can start training today. After this webinar, I'm going to explain how you can start training. And I want you to do that. But the other thing I want you to do is take your iPhone, and if you've got a GoPro, strap it to your head on your chest, great. If you've got a point and shoot, then you can buy cheap tripods. You can get someone to hold it. If you've got to flash a DSLR camera, great. Just figure out a way. Be creative. There's a video I released this week. It's on the website. It's free. If you go to the recipe course material, there's three free videos. And video 2 explains all the different options you have with regards to filming your footage. So you can make it work. Just be creative with what you've got. So film your training and then watch it back. And just to elaborate on the second point there, don't just watch it back, because chances are if you're training your bird or your dog or your horse or your bird of prey or your cat or your zoo animal, whatever you're training, you're emotionally involved in that. So I encourage you to take that video as well and show other people, especially people that have spent a bit of time gathering information about animal training, and get their feedback on it. People that aren't emotionally involved and can just look at those ABCs and take the information from it and give you feedback. Now, if you're getting results, great. Use that footage to learn what you're doing right and repeat it. But if you're not getting results, do your ABCs and see what you can change, and then repeat this process. It's really that simple, but doing this will supercharge your learning. I can guarantee you, in every situation I've ever come across. Now, I'm going to be offering you an opportunity to learn online a little bit later on in this webinar. But even if I was there with you right now, physically in Milwaukee with you and working with your animals, we would be employing this exact same strategy in comparison to me being in New Zealand and working with you. So just start today. It's such a great way to really speed up where you're learning, and then repeat it. And then once you finish this process and you've gone through it and you've repeated it, then what you got to do is practice and practice and practice some more. Even the best animal trainers in the world are continually refining their skill sets when it comes to shaping and training behavior. Now, this stuff works, and it works for me, and it works for people just like you, as you saw with Bridget and Julian early in the video. And I'm going to play another video of Bonnie Watkins very soon. But I want to show you some of the great stuff that we've been up to via Animal Training Academy in the last 12 months and the results we've been getting. So that video should be playing for you. Let me just load that up for you. That video should be playing for you now. And in that last video, you can see some of the people that I've been lucky to learn and grow from in the last 12 months. And whilst you have been watching that video, we have been joined by the wonderful she is, Phoebe Dog, who decided that she wanted to be part of the webinar today as well. And she's woken from her slumber. And I know that setting her up for success with regards to being still for the next 20, 30 minutes is by placing her on my lap. So she will be joining us for the rest of this webinar. But I've been extremely lucky to learn and grow the 16 different examples that you just saw of the universality of positive reinforcement and the application of the recipe for successful behavior management that you just saw there. And I want to continue on with sharing these successes, because I want you guys to get successes while others are jumping in, and I want you to as well. But we're going to meet, once again, someone we've already met in this webinar today. We're going to be meeting Devi and Devi's current trainer, Bonnie Watkins from Kiwi Birdlife Park in Queenstown, New Zealand. So here we go, and we'll jump into that video now. Hey, thanks for that, Bonnie. So whether you're constantly interacting with your animals, whether as a vet or a zookeeper or just your pets at home, then having this knowledge not only changes your life, but it obviously changes your animal's life as well, and it impresses your friends, your colleagues, your managers, and increases your confidence with clients as well. When your animals are cooperating with you, all these interactions run smoother and they're less stressful on your animals and on you. And when you have your confidence that you and your animal will behave desirably because you've paired your animal's behaviors with positive reinforcement, then it helps free up your time as well to focus on other things. And if you're in a zoo, obviously enrichment and spending time with other animals and on other training, if you're at home with your pets, and it can alleviate frustration and also enable you to just get on with life as well as doing other enrichment and all the things involved in managing your animals successfully. But knowing how to do this stuff empowers you and it empowers your animals. And you can see in that video when we target train the pig, the high five at the end there and the comments and energy at the end of that possum video. It's really empowering to have that communication open up with your animal. Now, you're all here because you want to learn the gentlest and humane animal training methods, both for us and our animals. And you want to learn how to get more desirable behaviors from your animals, making life less stressful for everyone involved. And you don't want to have to struggle through it. And hopefully you know that I can help you achieve this. So if you want these kinds of results, then let me show you how. I've got something that I'm really excited to share with you today. But just before I do, I just want to answer some of the main questions that I've been getting from you guys. And this first one is that you don't have enough time to do your animal training. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I want you to think about this. And this is something I employ, running these webinars, creating Animal Training Academy and building my website. It's been a huge undertaking, and I've been working up to 16 hours a day in the recent past, in a couple of weeks to get everything working smoothly up to where we are today. So I've been employing this intensely with my animals at this point in time, but it's something I've labeled the 2-minute challenge. So think about this. What if you take 2 minutes every morning to do training? And I do it at night time, depending on your schedule. But you offer your animal in that session at least 10 reinforcers in those 2 minutes that you wouldn't otherwise offer throughout its day. And you manage to do that in that 2-minute training session. And you do that for a week. So if you can do that, that's 70 individual pieces of information that you have just told your animals that they can start to anticipate that you're an enjoyable person to be around. And you just start piling on the reinforcers and building your relationships up with your animals, and you work towards getting those higher trust accounts. So let's say you did that every day for a week and you've got 70 individual pieces of information that otherwise wouldn't be added to your animal's environment. Now, if you continue that and you did that for a year, so just 2 minutes a day, every day for a year, that's over 3,640 individual pieces of information that you have just told your animal that you're an awesome person to be around. And that's only 2 minutes a day. Now, with 3,640 reinforcement opportunities, every single one of you here would be able to start shaping and training new behaviors. Even if you've never done it before, you're going to be just like me when I first started out working with Security the Goose. But the point is, 2 minutes a day, huge impact over a year. Most of you will get a handful of new behaviors at the least out of 3,640 reinforcement opportunities. And you can use those opportunities to work towards teaching more desirable behaviors that will help replace the undesirable ones that you guys might be experiencing now. And if you're unsure about this, if you're unsure about how you can implement it, just like we said with the 3-step challenge, just start today and just start doing something. Because if you just start today and use positive reinforcement and use choice and cooperation, but if you start today, you're going to have a better chance than zero of succeeding, right? So to just get going on it. And here's the thing moving forward. Personally, and I just want to acknowledge Phil's comment there, I fully recommend the mentoring program as well. I learned a huge amount from Ryan with training my 4 parrots. So thank you once again, Phil. You put a number of comments in the chat function, and I just want to acknowledge and appreciate that you're putting that out there for everyone else to read as well, because me and you had a lot of fun working with your 4 parrots, and I'm glad that it was beneficial, as you seem to be indicating towards in the chat function right now. So big thank you to you, Phil, for taking the time to write those pieces of information down. But just like Phil there, I want to create more Julians and more Bridgets and more Phils and more Bonnies. I need more case studies. I really want to bring all of this information out to the masses and I want to do it on a bigger scale. And I'm going to do that a little bit later. For now, though, I'm just looking for 10 to 20 more people to go through the new version of the recipe online course that I've put up on the website, and see that when this is combined with the Clicker Training course that's already up there, Clicker Training Fundamentals, the archive content, which is an ever-increasing, ever-growing resource, and I've just opened it up, so it's only got a few lessons in it now, but over the span of Animal Training Academy's life, it's going to get humongous. And the free course, which is 15 lessons, and we've got video, audio, written content. The podcast, we're up to 11 podcasts, nearly at 3,000 downloads for those podcasts. And of course, the VIP program, which Phil was just talking about there, which currently includes a personal coaching video call from me, a WhatsApp mobile phone support. So we can use WhatsApp it's a free app on your phone, and we can send text and voice and pictures and videos internationally for free. We just got to pay for the data, but the app is free. It's free to send all that stuff. And then combining that with me reviewing, as you saw with Rusty the Alexandrian Parrot earlier, your training videos. And then on top of that, adding in forum support. So we're going to connect you with the rest of Animal Training Academy's community, and I'm on the forums daily. We're going to combine this into a VIP mentor program with all the content available on Animal Training Academy, and I'm going to offer that to you very shortly. But the reason that I'm going to be offering it to you at a really good rate today is I'm not so much concerned about profiting hugely from this right now. That will come later. But I feel strongly about this because the case studies are already showing that it works. And I need to continue to make people super successful, to demonstrate to everyone else that other people are jumping in and having success. So why not you as well? I want to prove what I'm saying is true. So I'm looking for more people. And I don't think I'm ready to move on to the next stage just yet before I get to more case studies. So we're just working through some of the first VIP programs now and starting to get our first case studies, as you've seen today, through the testimonials from these people. So what I've done in the meantime is put together a package, and I call it the Ultimate Animal Training Professional Package. And what this package does is it's designed to supercharge your animal training knowledge. There's two big things, as I've already mentioned, that I believe everyone should do, and that is firstly, develop a deep understanding of how behavior and reinforcement works, and secondly, we need to take the microscope and we need to place it over your unique situation. And of course, as talked about numerous times throughout this webinar, observable behavior is always the study of the individual. You need the knowledge that the course material provides, and then the VIP package is where we're going to put the lens on you and your animals and dive deep. The coaching video being a personal 1 to 2 hour call where you and I get to video chat, just you and I. You get to ask live questions, and I can come in at whatever level you are at. The forums are great to send specific targeted information relevant to what stage of training you are at, and I'm on there daily. And this allows me to add all relevant links to other materials, etc. And then WhatsApp is just amazing. You can send short videos, voice messages, text messages, photos, and the app is completely free. So the VIP package is where we take everything we learn and apply it to your specific situation. So we'll just jump back to the slideshow and we'll just run through everything that the package includes. So Ultimate Animal Training Package. So you get the training tidbits, archive content, and podcasts. So 17 lessons currently and growing, and then 11 podcasts up there. So hours worth of listening, and the lesson has a written up component and added videos into the written components of the podcast as well. So just in that's all free for anyone on this webinar today. You can access all that stuff for free. And then we've got the recipe online course, which has just been uploaded this week. And I know Phil was telling me how helpful he found this. And at the point that me and Phil were going through the mentor program, I was actually offering this for free, specific lessons of it. I've actually beefed it up significantly and relaunched it as the online course. So you get all the different ingredients today. We've gone through a couple of them, and you're going to get those ingredients amplified and all the other ingredients, of course, as well. And then you've got the Clicker Training Fundamentals course, which is 10 individual lessons right now. They've all got quizzes with them, so you can learn about buying a clicker. That's step 1 to shaping behavior at the end, and all the steps in between that you need to learn and go through to use that training tool effectively. Then you've got lifetime access to forums. So not just for a month, you can access this resource for the rest of your life. And that's included in the VIP mentor program, where you've got that personal coaching call, you've got the forum support, you've got the WhatsApp support, and you've got the review of your training videos as well. So huge value there, and it's all written up there. So loads of stuff there. And when you go through this process, some things are going to change for you. You're going to start to see behavior differently. And when you really develop that deep understanding, you'll understand how behavior works for all animals, even us, even humans, because we're all influenced by reinforcement and punishment. Every living organism on this planet is. And when you develop a deep understanding of why others do what they do and why your animals do it, it basically will change the way you see the world. But not only this, you'll be able to understand how you and the environment influences your animal's behavior. And once you understand this stuff, this is when the knowledge really starts to become powerful, and you can start to work towards really getting those behaviors you want. It's going to make your life easier. It's going to make your animal's life easier. Going to impress your friends, your family, your managers. It's going to help you see what's possible, positive reinforcement animal training, and most importantly, for all involved, including you, including your animals, is it's going to be fun. When you get the behaviors you want and your animals are doing them voluntarily and they are also having fun, it's a good feeling, and it will change you and it will change your life. It's empowering to you and it's empowering to your animals. Now, moving forward with this, I'm consistently evaluating and changing the way I offer my services on the website, but I can only handle a certain number of students because I need to ensure that I'm still delivering high amounts of value. So I'm only going to be selling a handful of these packages at the moment, and it will be available for forever basically, but I've just released the recipe this week, so if you don't get it now, yes, you'll have an opportunity to get it later, but you're going to pay about 7 times the price later. So I don't know how much is worth to you. I tried to do some maths to figure it out and figure out how much I should charge this and how much people will be willing to pay for it, but this is the way I figured it out. You know, if you, like me, for the most of my career working in zoos, earn $30 an hour and you work 240 days a year and you work 8 hours a day, then if you times that by 10 years of experience, basically I'm going to give you about $500,000 worth of experience now for next to nothing, because I want to make sure that you don't have to waste the time, effort and energy with all the risk of failure. And if you want to figure out how to do this stuff without stepping on all the landmines, I've already done that for you. And I'm so confident that this program is going to work for you. And Phil's been backing this up throughout this webinar as well. And we've been showing you a couple of testimonials that here's my guarantee to you guys. If you go through all the training and go through it within 2 months, and it doesn't give you everything I've been talking about, it doesn't empower you, it doesn't empower your animals, it doesn't help you see things in a new way and move towards the behaviors you want, it doesn't help impress you and your managers and your clients, then simply contact me, send me a message. You can do that via the website, or you probably have my personal email via the messages I send you. Just send me a message and I'll give you your money back. In 2 months from now, I want you to ask if this everything is cracked up to be, and if it's not, and you've been through all the training, I don't want you to feel dissatisfied. I'll give you your money back, and on top of that, I'll let you keep all the course material. And I actually had someone tell me that they were going to do this before they even bought the course. They were going to do it just to get the product for free. And the unfortunate reality is that I know there's people out there that are going to do that. And that's okay, I guess, because as long as I'm spreading the word about the most gentle and humane animal training methods, I guess that there's some benefit in that. But the reality is I made this package for people like you, and I know you're really going to benefit from it, not for people like that. Now, somewhere on this page, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up a link for you guys, and you can see what's involved in everything I've just been talking about with that offer. So I'm going to open that up for you now. What I want you to do, if you don't mind, just via the chat function there, if you could tell me 2 things. If you can tell me that you can see that, and if you can click on that and just tell me that it's opening up effectively, that would be great. And I know that there's no technical gremlins at work and everything's working fine. That would be fantastic. So if you click on that, it's going to give you all the information about what I've just been talking about, and you're going to be able to go there. Julie, thank you. And you can use PayPal to pay for that if you want. So that's an international, renowned, secure way to pay for things. But if you don't have PayPal, you can also use a credit card. And thank you, Tom. And I will see you on the inside. And we will work together to help you get those behaviors. And for those of you not from New Zealand, which is most of you, there's a couple in here from New Zealand today, which is always an absolute pleasure for me personally, because I know you're not too far from home. We had people from all over the world, Thailand, Netherlands, Australia, America, Canada, Germany. So I know that we've got a huge mix in here. But for those of you not from New Zealand, then this course is being offered in New Zealand dollars. So there's actually a currency converter link in the frequently asked questions section of the page that you can open up there. And you can copy and paste that, and it will tell you how much it's worth in your currency. And 99 times out of 100, it's going to make it even cheaper for you guys. So click on that, check it out. And for anyone who's watching the replay of this webinar, don't worry, we are going to be giving you this offer as well. If you watch the replay before the cart closes, don't worry, the offer will be available until midnight New Zealand time on Saturday. And if you have questions and you're watching a replay, additionally, don't worry, you can actually ask a question in the replay. And when you push send, it will send a message directly to my mobile device, and I'll be able to respond to you immediately via my mobile device, depending on what I'm doing. So you can still interact with me via the replay, and that offer will still be available. And the replay will be available to midnight Saturday, New Zealand time. Now, there's three things you guys need to, thank you, Barbara. There's three things you guys need to make this happen. And one of those is a camera. So we want to supercharge your animal training by reviewing your training. So ideally you have a camera, and the other thing you need is a computer. And I know you already have one, or a device that's capable of opening up things like this webinar. And I know you have one because you're here on this webinar now. And the third thing you need is an internet connection. And once again, I know you have that because you're here at this webinar right now. So that's all you need moving forward. And if you complete the training, remember, in 2 months and you're not satisfied, I'll give you that full refund and let you keep the product, but that's not going to happen. And I feel confident that you guys are all contemplating how this might be able to help you, because you're here at the end of this webinar because you believe in this business and you've made it this far. We're going to empower you. We're going to empower your animals, and we're going to help you get those behaviors that you want. Like I said, others are jumping in and having success, so why not you? And for all you wonderful people that have stayed with me to the end, I'm going to empower you now even more by providing you with that free behavior flowchart I mentioned at the start of this webinar. All you have to do to access that is go to the link I put there for the information about the package. And if you go to that link and you open up the information, it will have Ultimate Animal Training Package, which will be available, like I said, till midnight Saturday New Zealand time. But if you go to that page and you scroll right down to the bottom of the page, right down into the footer, you will find a link there that says behavior flowchart. So right in the footer of that page. And if you click on that, then that's going to take you to where you can get free access to that behavioral flowchart. So what we're going to do now is, I can see that there's some people, Glenda, asking questions in the chat function there, and some other people as well. So I'm going to divert my attention over to that chat function, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask your questions there. And ask me anything that's on your mind. This is your opportunity to like I said, ask anything that you want and any questions that you have. So I'll jump across there right now, and these questions are going to come in two forms from you guys. One is any questions you have about the package or the offer. Please feel free to put those in there. And the second thing is any questions that you have about your own individual animal training. This is your opportunity. I'm here and I'm yours, and I'm going to stay here until you're all completely satisfied and had enough. So if you've got those questions, now is the time. You've got my attention. Put them in there, and we'll start to discuss those in more detail. But I just got to do something. I've got two computer screens. So if you see my attention diverted up, it's because I'm looking at my computer screen above my webcam there. Just going to sort out something on that computer, and then I'm going to jump to your chat function. So just give me 1 second. All right, cool. So where are we? Glenda, are all the course material able to go back over if I need to review? Great question, Glenda. Yeah, so with the Ultimate Animal Training Package, and like I said, this is only available to midnight, because otherwise you're buying frequently for the forums and the archive stuff. You're buying limited access, and you pay kind of as a membership. But with the Ultimate Training Package, and with the release of the recipe this week, I'm offering lifetime access to basically every single resource I have available. I've combined it into this package that's going to be available for the next couple of days. So it's 1 o'clock here, 12:30, I should say, midday Thursday, and we've got about 2.5 days that this package is still going to be available. So if you purchase the Ultimate package in that time frame, the gold package, then you're going to have lifetime access to not only the recipe course material, but the clicker training course material. You're going to have lifetime access to the archive content area. So that content area is humongous, potentially in the future. It's just been created this week. It's been promised for the last 5 months, and I've just created this week as we've gone over the 15 lesson limit for the free course. So everything archived now, everything additional that I create, and I'm sending free content out every week, is going to be chucked in that archive content area. So right now you have the opportunity as part of that package to gain lifetime access to archive areas. And then as part of the VIP program, you get lifetime access to the forums as well. Now, the reality of the situation is, being at an early stage in this business, I'm offering these things as we start to build. As I said before, I need to start to build all these testimonials and these case studies of success as we move forward. In 12 months from now, you're not going to be able to get this stuff because I just financially and as from a business perspective won't be able to offer them anymore. So now's the time to act if you want to secure your access to all that stuff. And the way the course works is you can review it now and you can return to it whenever the time suits you. Having lifetime access means all you need to do is remember your login credentials, and of course you can reset your password, and you've got a profile section once you're logged in where you can change all that information, and then you will have access to all that material. And as Animal Training Academy grows and progresses, there's going to be ever increasing resources added to the website, new courses and stuff, which won't be included in this package. It's just everything that we have now, but obviously further opportunities in the future to gain access to that stuff. So it's huge. I mean, I started the website in January and we're up, I counted, including the quizzes, we're up over 50 lessons at the moment, and all the podcasts and the webinars. So there's so much information now. You'd sit there for weeks just absorbing it all. And like I said, that's one of the necessary steps, I believe, in moving forward. The VIP mentor program is the other one, where we take all of that information and we put the microscope over you and your animals, and we apply everything via the video edit function and the forum use and the coaching call. We apply everything. And additionally, the behavior flowchart, which I've just sent you, which includes all the questions listed and links to all the relevant material for individual questions that will help you understand the questions in greater detail and come to the solutions, is the intention of that document, without even necessarily needing to progress to using the forums. Because if you're using the 3-step process as well, and you're trying things and filming it and practicing and repeating and doing your ABCs, the way things are set up now and continually evolving is you'll be able to utilize the resources by yourself and come up with the solutions yourself, as long as you apply yourself effectively with all the information that's provided. So heaps of potential, and that stuff's available to you for the rest of your life if you get that package now. I hope that answers your question, Glenda. I do have a question about an owl I'm working with. Of course, Lindsay, weight management is becoming a topic of contention in the States. I'm having problems creating motivation with this owl, aka he's not accepting reinforcement 100% of the time. He's not interested in food. Any suggestions? Yeah, and this is a conversation that I guess been playing out for a long time. There's one document that I'm a big fan of, where some of the, let's call them heavyweights in the industry, have kind of nutted this out. Let me just find a link for you. How's that, Lindsay? And I'll give you that, and I'm going to direct you away. You know, I don't necessarily like doing this, but because I think it's going to be of huge value to you. I'm going to direct you away from Animal Training Academy content specifically, and give you a document where you can read in depth about that discussion. As someone who provides information online, I don't particularly, without having a large amount of information, like providing advice about what you should do dietary-wise with your individual animal. And I think separating yourself from all the conversations that happen online, the thing you have to do before you do anything else is make sure that you talk to your vet team, and that they've had their input as well, because they're the professionals with all the qualifications and stuff, and they, at the end of the day, are the people that we need to be talking about. Let me just check on my screen here that I've got the right document for you. I'm going to put a link for it for you there. Let me just double check. That's not it. Let me just find it for you. All right, let me try something else. I really want to get this to you right now while it's in my memory. I have a clue about how I can do that. Here we go. Where are we? Stacey. Sorry, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but here we go, I've got it. Okay, and I'm going to put that in the chat for you right now. Paste and enter. Cool, so have a look at that one, Lindsay. And my input would be to talk to the vet about that before you do anything. It's very hard for me to comment from this perspective, and I'm very averse to offering you any comments without having any information. So just the information you provided in that chat, I can't say do or do not employ weight management in this situation, because that obviously has the potential to impact upon your bird's health, and I'm not in a position with the information I've been given to offer any significant advice in that direction. I think when employed correctly with the correct experience and understanding and the correct measures in place, so that document I sent you has got a lot of information about weighing birds, it can be employed highly successfully. But there's a lot of different variables and points to consider that are unique to each situation, and you have to apply the information that you receive to your own individual situation and make that decision yourself. If you did want to dive deeper, I'm 100% more than happy to do so. I've got a lot of experience in managing animals' weights in lots of different organizations and in lots of different situations with a lot of different bird species. So if you do want to give me more information, I'm happy to go into it right now. I guess when we're talking about motivation, when we're working with owls, I don't know what species you're working with, but I've worked with owls where no matter how much we managed that animal via its weight and its food quantity that it got daily, food wasn't always the biggest reinforcer. Depending upon the situation we're in, we could get high levels of consistency in that animal's exhibit and holding space, but take it out into a big open area because it was a small species of owl, and then behavior would change significantly. And suddenly, seemingly, without knowing what the bird was thinking, safety became a predominant feature. So in that example, we started to ask questions about how we could use, I'm going to put it in air brackets here, safety. Once again, we can't label that. What does that look like? It looks like the owl going and spending time under sheltered areas and areas where it had cover, as opposed to being out in the open or big open spaces around it. How can we use that to guide it to do desirable behaviors in an educational setting? And we got it flying towards those areas where it was met with that hypothetical safety reinforcer and large amounts of food reinforcement as well. So it's taking the understanding of reinforcement and expanding it past food as well in those situations, and looking at how you can set the environment up for success for that individual animal, and move beyond that and utilize weight management effectively, in my personal opinion, as well as relationships, as as well as environmental arrangements. So it's a whole bunch of factors. Lindsay, does that help answer your question? Now, just looking at 2 more questions here. Lindsay, tell me that was helpful or not. We've got Julie and Julie. We've got 2 Julies asking questions. Julie, I'd like to hold to train sheep starting at a variety of ages. I'd also like to learn how to decrease dominance behavior between animals, especially intact males, rams. Cool. So the important thing to consider here, and we've mentioned it a couple of times in this webinar already, is that behavior it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is the study of one. It's always the study of one. And so with your RAM situation, Julie, I'll need more information. That's where the VIP program comes in handy, and we'll need to look at your individual animals and their daily routines and their environment and their relationships with you and their relationships with the other animals and the reinforcers and punishers available and presented to those animals in their own individual situations, and do our ABCs. So 2 things to really help you out there. One, I think, is the VIP program, where we can discuss that in much greater detail. And 2, without having to invest in that program, you've got access now to the behavior flowchart, where all these questions will be presented to you. And you can go through that list and click on the links and start to go through the material on the website as well. And hopefully, we've been through 2 ingredients today out of 6, so there's obviously a lot more learning to do. But you can start to appreciate how you, via your ABCs and via all the different ingredients of the recipe, can hopefully move towards, and the forums obviously added into that VIP program are such a great resource to facilitate this process. Understand your individual animals and understand things that you can influence and their antecedents and their consequences, and what is motivating their behavior, what's the function which those ABCs can tell us, rather than give you a generic answer, which I don't think is going to be incredibly helpful if I make a whole bunch of assumptions that may or may not be true about your unique situation. I think that is the short answer. Is that helpful, Julie? Just Julie, and then we'll move on to Julie Lannon. Let me know if that was helpful at all. Julie Lannon, I'm very interested. Ryan, are you interested in my horses, especially my rescue? Of course I am. And Julie Lannon, I don't know if you've seen on the website, but we've got a podcast episode with one Kate Southcombe, who owns Equine Positive Reinforcement Horse Training here in New Zealand. And we did a whole podcast episode on positive reinforcement with horse training. So I don't know if you've come across that resource yet, Julie Lannon, but I know, with regards to talking about behavioral change methodology and horse training and being a bird nerd at heart and working in zoological settings, a couple of things. Firstly, that's where my experience base is, but what my experience base has additionally facilitated me in learning is that what works for a red-tailed black cockatoo, as you can see in the picture with me there, works with your horses. It's no different. And horses in an area that's been traditionally based upon negative reinforcement, how can we change things? How can we set our animals up for success using these positive reinforcement? There's people doing it internationally. There's lots of people doing it. So, Julie, I definitely recommend you checking out that resource, and maybe we can connect you up with Kate as well. And we can guide that. And Kate's kindly said that she's going to voluntarily participate in the forum section of the website as well. So she's going to offer her time there. Specifically, I said that I would contact her if there's horse-related issues, and she would put her 2 cents in there. So a great way to connect with, one, the information that's available on the website, and 2, people who have specific experiences in the species that you're dealing with there, Julie Lannon. Hope that was helpful. Yeah, and you've already been chatting with Kate. I just saw that. Fantastic. She's an amazing person. Me and her have a joint presentation we're presenting at Auckland University in a couple of months together. So we've formed quite a strong collaborative partnership here in New Zealand. So really glad to hear that you've connected with her, Julie. That's fantastic. Just jumping back to the other comments, I really do appreciate the time. He's a snowy owl and works so well in one day and then nothing the next. Yeah, so, I mean, once again, Lindsay, really need to have a look at all of the different factors in play there. And one thing that comes to my mind when I read that is, and it comes back to that empowerment ingredient we went through earlier, is that's okay. If he's motivated, or if he's motivated sometimes, great. Let's use that. Let's heavily reinforce when he does those things. And then when we go out there, let's let him vote with his feet, his wings, his feathers, his head, his eyes, whatever. Let's let him vote. Let's let him tell us what he's comfortable doing in any given situation on any given day. If he's not, let's discuss the reasoning, the science, the thought processes, the ideology we have moving forward with how we view that situation. We bring him out here. We have expectations of that animal. We have expectations that he will do this behavior. Our managers have expectations that he's going to educate and entertain the zoo's visitors, but he's telling us something else. So how do we interact with that? How do we interpret that to zoo visitors if we have to? And how do we interpret that in our own mind? And how do we, when we're talking about reinforcement, we're talking about offer the consequence of desirable outcomes for behavior for our animals. But what if our animals don't do what we want? What are the consequences then? So putting a plan in place to say, okay, here's an antecedent, Mr. Snowy Owl. Here's a piece of information that says, if you want, via your learning history, this, you can perform X behavior to earn reinforcement right now. But additionally, if you don't want, that's fine. That's cool. No worries. But, what do we do in those situations? And having that discussion, I think, will be really beneficial to you. Firstly, to go, yeah, cool, whatever, that's fine. No worries. You don't want to behave, sweet. I'm okay with that. It's okay. It's your decision. I'm going to say, hey, do you want to participate right now? Yes, cool. Here's something you want. If you don't want to participate right now, no worries. What do we do in that situation? Firstly, we'd be okay with it. And then additionally, how do we react? What are the consequences we deliver? So I think it's important to have that conversation and base it around those two main points, I think. Let me know if that was helpful, Lindsay. Back to Alan, do you get a grade at the end of the course? There is a possibility that my co-workers can use a tuition reimbursement program to pay for the course. They normally cover only accredited universities, but I'm sure they could inquire about getting these classes covered for them. Yeah, I haven't paired up with a accredited organisation yet to offer grades. Unfortunately, the only option is to click on the course complete option in the website, and that's more for yourself to know that you've gone through all the programs. I can offer, if these people are going through mental programs, then we do actually end up interacting on quite a personal level. So I can offer that feedback for managers in those situations to provide them with more information about how individuals have progressed through the different stages of the program. And I think there's a lot of value in that. That might be even more significant than a number on a piece of paper. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that and what are the specific requirements of your tuition reimbursement program. It's something I want to work on more in the future, and I think that comment you just gave me is feedback for me to investigate that further. At the moment, I think what I can offer you is communication with the individuals involved in managing and determining the suitability of what I offer to their individual programs, and coming out with a suggestion of providing feedback from my end that I believe these people have progressed to set standards, which they obviously 100% can if they engage in the content fully. 100%. Does that answer your question, Alan? Hey, Julie, thank you for that, and thank you for acknowledging the humane process that I'm trying to push and to encourage out into the world. It's great to get that feedback from you. Thank you. Hey, Ninky, great to have you here today, and thinking of entering Oink, my mountain pig. Yeah, fantastic, Nikki. And I believe you've already kind of engaged in the mentor program in the past. So yeah, just all you have to do is flick me that email when you're ready to go, and you, me, and Oink. And so glad. And I'm sure my fiance will want to get involved in that one. She's a massive pig fanatic. And if you look at that Ultimate Animal Training Package page there, you'll see a photo. We went and saw 12 piglets at a wildlife sanctuary here in New Zealand last week, Kuni pigs. So I would love to get involved with Oink. Sounds great. Hey, thanks, Donna. Thank you so much for showing up today. And yeah, we're definitely looking at increasing the amount of webinars we're doing moving forward, and increasing the variety of information offered through different and various webinars in the future. So yeah, Donna, keep an eye out, and through the mailing list, we'll keep in contact. And yeah, massive thank you for engaging in the process today and being part of this. I really appreciate you coming here today, Donna. Big thank you. And Glinda saying, I think you include. Maybe there's a little bit more to add to that message. I'll just wait for Glinda to wrap up there. Okay, just scroll up to the top there. Cool. So we're coming towards the end of the webinar now. We've still got, let me just check who's in the room here. Phil's still here. Great to still have you with us to the end there, Phil. Alan, Ninky says she's, the information I'm getting says Ninky's still here. Lindsay, Sheila, Lisa, Julie, Glinda, Samantha, and Donna. So now's your time, guys. If I don't hear anything from anyone within the next 60 seconds, we'll start to move towards the end. Once again, though, if I do, I'm willing to stay on as long as you want me to. I've got I've cleared up this afternoon, so I can sit here as long as I need to. So let me know. Otherwise, we'll start to think about moving towards the end. But if you've got any more questions specifically about the package being offered, and how it might help you, and how I can give you more information about that, now you are very welcome, Lindsay. And I want to take that gratitude that you've just expressed to me in the chat and throw it back to you, and say, yeah, I'm really grateful for you being here today and engaging in Animal Training Academy. We've been going for 12 months, so I just appreciate any and all engagement that we get. So massive thank you. No, Glinda, yeah, definitely really busy, but I'm here for you guys. That's the only reason I'm here. So I want to keep busy making sure that I'm providing the best value that I can. So Oink it will be. Yeah, fantastic. I'll be keeping my eye on my inbox for that message, Ninky, and can't wait to start and get your camera ready to start filming. If you don't already have footage of Oink, then we'll definitely be encouraging you to accumulate that, and we'll set a Dropbox folder up, and we can share videos that way maybe as well. But I'll be waiting for that email from you, Ninky. Donna, hopefully that information was useful, and Ellen, Julie, both Julies. Let's see who else we've got here. Glenda's saying, I think a form of grading will, yeah. So definitely thanks for that feedback, Glenda, and something for me to add to the massive brainstorm I have blue tack to my wall here, about including a grading system in what I do. Yeah, it's an interesting area. I guess the mentor program doesn't really facilitate giving individuals a specific number or anything to indicate their level of success. It's more about reinforcing engagement, because regardless of if you're having success or not from your behaviors, and if you follow the methods and guidelines outlined, we will be moving towards those more desirable behaviors. My main desire and goal is first and foremost to reinforce, acknowledge, and appreciate your engagement in the process itself. Before we go on to those desirable behaviors, that's the end goal, but we need to start first. So acknowledge that, and then I want to focus on what you're doing right, because doing that is doing something right. And then providing that video footage gives me the ability to hopefully jump in and say, here's all the things, and not to grade you, not to say here's you're doing 7 out of 10 on this training, but to say here's how we can build upon what is already occurring in your individual situation, as opposed to you get 4 out of 10 or you get 10 out of 10. It's you get 10 out of 10. You get 10 out of 10. And here's how we can build upon that and take that. Hopefully together we can take that to a 12 out of 10. And then we move to the 12 out of 10 and we move forward and we build upon that. So it's a continuously, it's a progression really. And I've got a lot to think about with the feedback you guys have been giving me today about that grading process. But yeah, a lot to think about in the future. Yeah, definitely. And I think building on just to reinforce what I've just said, to build on what you've just said. Yeah, I think when used correctly, as an instructor, it might be beneficial to me and increase the knowledge for both learners, for myself as a learner and for mentor participants as well. So yeah, thank you for that feedback. Anyone else got any questions specifically? Otherwise, what I might do is show my appreciation for coming along today. Remember that bonus that I offered you is that the behavior flow charts offered on the bottom of that order page. Even if you don't order anything today, that's fine. You can gain access to the offer, and it's going to be removed from all future links to the order page. So go ahead, open it up and click on that link. Thanks for attending. If all you got out of this webinar was training and new information, and I'm happy. It doesn't matter to me if you don't buy from me at all. I want you to be happy, and if this one wasn't for you, then maybe I'll have something for you in the future. But I hope that the great content I gave you can help you. Go and do something. 2-minute challenge, the 3-step process. Go do something with your animals and help take your training to the next level and help you take advantage of our no risk offer as well. Thank you very much, guys. The webinar is going to be over in about 10 seconds. So go through, click to the offer now. I'll send you a link to it very shortly as well. And thank you very much, and we'll see you again next time. Cheers.